New Year. I think it was a little while ago, but this has still come out a few
I've
years later.
lost
Do we know what time of day it is, anything else? So anyway, we thought we'd get back in the routine, back annoying you on socials with all this stuff. And first thought for the new year, which is kind of quite apt, is all about the creative trap of people pleasing and how people pleasing can totally ruin your creativity. Now, we've just got through and all survived the festive season where there's an element of people pleasing every which way within that, isn't there, to survive the festive season. And sometimes you need to do it. But if we're thinking about a new year and new fresh and fresh ideas, there's so much out there about try this, and there's so many things to try and get you to just copy what others are doing. And it almost like invades your space to be able to be creative yourself, because we are bombarded with everybody's ideas now, aren't we? And in trying to do it how others do it and please other people and get acceptance from other people, we fall into this trap that really, really stifles our creativity.
Yeah.
So we've just come on to have a little chat about that, really. So have you seen students, well, by yourself or others that you've worked with that have done that have come to us, and they come to us and go, I want to be able to do this, because they're wanting to be able to do what others do?
Yeah, actually, I'm not going to talk about my students. I'm going to go back to the show Stars in Their Eyes.
Oh, I used to love that. Saturday night TV, Stars in Their Eyes. Tonight, oh God,
tonight
now. Anyway, tonight we're going to be.
And it's fab because it showcased some incredible talent, and that talent and ability to mimic other people. And when we're talking about singing and vocal learning or anything like that, a lot of our learning is done through mimicry anyway. But what does that do in terms of the person's own talent themselves and discovering who they are?
Yeah.
Because if you're mimicking and emulating someone else, you lose some authenticity because you don't have that connection to you. So I wanted to go back and start on that one.
Yeah, no, it's so true, because there's this element of, and I think it's the nature, whenever you're learning a skill, so if we think of the arts as a skill-based activity rather than a creative outlet, there is technique, there are skills, so you have to learn those techniques and the correct way of doing it. And in that process, you can so fixate on the correct way to do it technically that you lose
completely. So I've got students who I work with, and actually what I'm trying to do is, and they can't get their head around it until it clicks, is I try and get them out of that framework. Because they're so going, well, where should my voice be? What quality should I be? Should my voice be at the front? Should it be at the back? And they're looking at all those technical aspects to the extent that they've lost. So they've got all that technique on one side of the coin, but they haven't even thought about the other side of the coin. So they lose that balance. And they lose that artistry, which is creativity.
And when I've seen it in students where they've been set a choreography task to do, and straight away, well, it's a lovely dance, but it's not a choreography that answers the question or communicates an intent or delves deep into the question that's been set by the exam, because they're just regurgitating the movement vocabulary that they've had before and what they've seen other people do, because they're trying to emulate that. Well, I want to do this move and I want to put a triple pirouette. Is a triple pirouette necessary? Does it actually bring anything to the movement? Or could you adapt it and make it into your own? So, there's so much noise out there, isn't there, nowadays?
Yes.
It's kind of this weird thing where it's so wonderful. It used to be you had to buy a ticket to go to the theatre, you had to make the trip to go to the art gallery, you had to be able to have access to the library, you had to go to a specific library to get access to the music and the script, and all the thing. Whereas now it is all out there and everybody's doing their own version of it, and the new trends that are going and different stuff. But all of that just clouds the space for you to have your own play and exploration.
And that's how you can find out what you can do. Because if you don't play, and if you don't explore, and you don't fail, I'm going to come back to that word fail. If you don't fail in what you're trying to do, you're not going to discover what you can do and what you can bring to the table.
And you're going to go to an audition and you're going to step up and you're going to think you've nailed it, and the people on the panel are going to go, I've seen 400 of them today alone. because you're just copying what else is out there rather than standing out from the crowd. And it's a really difficult thing to be confident and brave enough to do it. I've just got a song coming to my head, to do it your way. I've got my way singing. But it's and it's difficult when there's so much external influence about what is the right thing to do.
Yes.
And what is the right way to do something. Everybody's going to have an opinion.
The best way, because it isn't the right way, but the best way when you're looking at anything, if you're going out to perform, and this can be within the arts, it can be within the spoken voice world, it can be presenting, job interview, everything like that, is what feels most comfortable for you. Because when you're being interviewed, when you're being auditioned, they're wanting to see you in a comfortable place. They don't want to see a note that you're unsure is going to come out, or a move that isn't going to stick, because then you've lost it and you're going to get marked down. They want to see this thing where they don't realise that they're there auditioning, or they're not judging, critiquing you. They want to just be able to sit back and enjoy. And if you can get to a place where they're just sitting back and enjoying and not thinking, then you've won.
That's where you've got the hook. So how do we get to a place where we can be comfortable in us rather than mimicking other people? I mean, we could talk about this in kind of several things. So if we think about like the creative process, let's give some tips about the creative process, and then let's think about the performance element of it, of being comfortable in those two settings, because I think the creative process, you could put that to anything, whether you're creating your CV, whether you're creating a piece of artwork, whether you're doing whatever. How do you make yourself comfortable to be creative in yourself? What's your first tip for that?
You've got to be able and give yourself permission to put everything down, even if it means you screw it up or you move it to another part of the table and redo, and you come out with different attempts every time, because every time you do something you're going to learn. But, and I put this in massively because I had this conversation with a student the other day, you don't throw any of that stuff away. Because when you go back later and you reflect and you see, you might go, oh, I really like this first bit, and I really like this bit from here, and then you can pull every little bit away and in to create this incredible final piece.
And the key to do that, underpinning all of it, is creating space. So whether that is a physical space, a virtual space, a room space, a space in terms of a time frame and window, a night, to be creative and to not be influenced by others, to be able to take on what you've seen around you and delve into it. It's about creating space for yourself. Now sometimes, this is right, no distract, but sometimes that space might be, sometimes for us, it's in the car and I've got my iPad and digital art app out, and I'm waiting to pick the kids up from school, but I've got 20 minutes, I switch the radio off, my phone's still on silent, and I've got 20 minutes sat in the car, and I create a bit of space and I play. Becky, it might be you've got a student on, but your phone's still on silent and the door's shut because someone's not there, and you've got half an hour and you've got the piano and you've got some space to just play.
My perfect creative time is when I finish teaching of an evening.
Yeah.
And everyone goes and there's no one here. And that's when I tend to spend about 20 minutes extra before I go home, and I play on the piano. And that's my creative space. And sometimes I'm doing some vocal work, sometimes I'm just playing piano, but I'm looking and trying different things out and exploring and playing. Old pieces, new pieces, all that kind of stuff. Without
any fear of judgment, without being seen, without being interrupted, without being influenced, without hearing something that makes you go, oh, that's better than what I'm doing, or whatever. You know, anything stupid like that. It's clearing space. But that is very personal to you. And some people's space is sat on the sofa in the corner of the room with their headphones on with lots of other people around them. It doesn't have to be on your own. Creating space doesn't mean isolating yourself out or having a room that's just dedicated to throwing paint around. It's whatever it is, but it's you creating a space that works for you to help support the creative process. So then, how do you keep being you at the other end? If you think about the performance or in the an interview for work or stepping out of that, you know, how do you ignore the noise and be comfortable in you when you step into that environment?
That's the hardest bit.
So hard.
So hard.
So hard. For me, right, for me, one of the things that I always encourage people to do is forget about everything else. You've actually got to be physically comfortable. So whether that's, sometimes people think, oh, I'm going to a formal setting, so I'm going to scrape my hair back and do this. Oh my God, the tension that creates in my head if I'm not in the mood for it. Like your hair bubble's too tight on your head. And it pulls here, and then everything from here goes, and it's just like, or you've got like an itchy sock or an itchy seam on a trouser, or there's a label in that outfit, well, it might look right, or you suddenly put a shirt on with buttons, and I don't wear shirts with buttons, and it's starting to like pull here, or you feel, or twitch it. And it is something as simple as that of being, if you are physically comfortable in yourself, suddenly put a pair of heels on, you haven't worn them for like 6 months, and I'm going to fall over if I have to go up those steps any quicker. There's little things to consider, like just be comfortable in that first, because then that takes away all of those other things that you're having to process at the same time as presenting yourself out there.
And people don't like looking at people in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting that out there. Everyone I speak to goes, but I don't want to look at them. You don't have to. You can find points above people's heads and talk to places or perform to places above people's heads, and no one's going to have a clue that you're not looking at them. As long as you're moving your head around and looking like you're interacting, that's all you need to do. It's a really simple cheat get out. If you're in a one-to-one situation and you don't want to do that, you still don't have to connect with eyes. You can look at noses, you can look at foreheads. They're not going to know.
And you can also take time and space to process and think when you're out there, giving yourself, you can breathe, you can pause, you can ask to repeat stuff. You can take just a moment before you step into that performance.
If you watch every big performer, when they come out on stage, they will take a few moments to breathe, to prep. They will be running things quickly through their minds before they start performing.
Some people will be really, really noisy off stage and be going, doing all sorts of stuff and being really, really big and bullshit. That can get in your head. Yeah. But that's their way of doing it. So in that moment, it's cutting out the noise as well in that performance thing of everybody has their own way. You can't start judging yourself compared to them, because everybody's different, and it's about being comfortable to bring you into that moment.
And as soon as you start comparing yourself against other people, you start judging other people. So don't even think about what they're doing. Keep that focus purely on you. You are your own unique selling point. So your focus has to be on you.
And if you keep it on you, you're going to show your true self, and you're not going to try and be somebody else, and then you're not going to mess up halfway through because you're suddenly doing something you've never ever done before in your life, and then it all just feels a little bit weird in that moment. We've all been there and done that.
Oh,
right?
yes, completely.
All been there and done that. So it's a new year. We hate the idea of New Year's resolutions. We don't like them because they're just too much pressure. However, it is a time to kind of reflect whatever sometimes and just start fresh. And I think for us this year, it's about, we very much at BHVA do it our way anyway, and do it a little bit different to the grain. But yeah, try creating space, try getting rid of the noise, celebrate the wonderful world that we live in, where we can be inspired by lots of different things around us, but that doesn't mean we have to be like that for us to be good. It's about finding space to be comfortable in yourself, and then that's where
the magic happens.
That's where the real magic happens. Yeah, so give it a go. Start January off by finding space for you and your creativity, not killing your creativity by trying to copy everybody else. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.